you to each and every one of you for taking the time to be with us. Your presence is the testament for the importance of the FDP, and we are grateful for your participation. Today we have the resource person, Dr. K.A. Meenakshi Soundry, Director Software Development Engineering, Comcast, Chennai. So day 5, session 2. For day 5, session 2. So this is the 10th session of FDP. So I welcoming you all for the wonderful evening. So now I call Maithili ma'am to introduce the resource person. Please ma'am.
Good evening, everyone. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes.
I take great privilege to introduce our esteemed resource person, Meenakshi Soundri, ma'am, who has graciously accepted our invitation to share her valuable insights and expertise with us today. She holds BTech IT and have remarkable 14 years of experience in IT industry and achieving outstanding success throughout her career. She has technical strategic experience with proven record of accomplishment in development automation and operation coupled with people and thought leadership. Her key focus areas are Tech Women Steering Committee, Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, Project Management and Delivery, Strategic Planning and Return on Investment, New Product Development, and AML Center of Excellence. Throughout her 14 years of career, she has navigated various roles with ease and excellence, beginning as software developer, project leader. She rapidly progressed to project manager, senior tech cons, people leader, senior engineer. Today, she continues to excel as developer, consistently delivering high quality solutions. Please joining me welcoming the Meenakshi Soundri ma'am for enlightening the session. Now I would like to call Meenakshi Soundri ma'am to start the session.
Thank you, Maithili ma'am. Thank you, Amita. Okay, let me share my screen and get started. Can you all see my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, good evening, one and all. I think this is the day 5, right? I could see like there are a lot of things related to cyber attacks in the previous sessions as well. But then today I'm going to talk about what are all the types of cyber attacks and some real world problems. And then what are all the solutions that we have incorporated and that are the best practices. That is what we are going to cover today. Okay. And let's get started. Okay, hope the slides are visible in the slideshow mode. I cannot see the chat. Please interrupt me if there is anything you want to convey. Please unmute and speak. Okay. So
Yes,
my
visible.
name is visible. Thank you. Okay, my name is Meenakshi Soundari. People call me as Meenakshi. I work as a director in Comcast. Comcast is a media and broadcasting company. So more like a broadband network. So here we deal with a lot of networks, as I have mentioned in my day 1 session. So cyber security, we have it like a separate org itself. In many of the companies now, cyber security is like a separate org, and then we have like a dedicated course for cybersecurity as well. And even within the department, see, my department name is Connect, Comcast network and connectivity. Even within this, we have like a cybersecurity people who are working, but there will be like a global organization as well. So we have different divisions in US, UK. We support like a lot of different geographic locations, but all together there is like a global cybersecurity team, because that's how the important with this digitization of everything in this current world. The threats are important, the cybersecurity, the solutions are important, and upskilling with the latest practices is very important. Okay, so what is cyber attack? A cyber attack is an attempt to access, steal, or damage a computer system. It can be like a computer system, it can be like a network, or it can be like an infrastructure using computers. In other words, it's like an electronic ways of actually transferring the data or hijacking the data, or actually manipulating the data even. That is called as the cyber attack. Okay, it can be carried out by individuals and also as an organization, and also by an organization the same wise. Like, so the victim can also be here like an individual or can be like an organization, because everything is digitized now and every one of us uses phone, Wi-Fi, network. Without that, we are not even leading daily life nowadays, right? So with that, this is what we are going to almost 5 topics. I wish I'll complete it sooner, but let's see. And thank you all for your patience. I know that this is the second session of the day on a Friday. I know how tiresome it will be. I'll try to make it as much as possible interesting and interactive, but let's see. Okay. Okay. Overview of cybersecurity landscape, cyber attack landscape. Okay, first thing, what is a cyber attack? Yeah, we discussed. And then there are different types of cyber attacks: malware attacks, phishing attacks, denial of service, man in the middle attacks. So I'll go through that one by one. But then about the historical context and the evaluation, it's not something like that has come through now. Even in the 80s and the 90s, looks, there was like an Morris worm. 1988, there was like a that's the first cyber attack conducted by hackers. And in the 2000, this I remember, that's like an virus attachment, right? I love your virus attachment that spreads fast via email. And that's the first time, as far as I remember, I have heard about this virus. And there at that time, there were like many of at least in the early 90s, we used to have this floppy disks, compact disks, and then later it transformed to pen drives and all, right? But there and all, mostly it is like virus infected. Whether if it is like an external device that is getting attached to a computer, then there are chances like there can be like some viruses or some files that is not needed that can. But even in the emails, it started to spend fast, because that is the time where everyone started to move to this electronic world. And at the time, there was not much of these chat sessions and all. It was everything is through email. Even now, I used to go back to my email box on the 2000s. I see like a lot of communications many people have done during 2000s in the email. So that's the first beginning or the historical context in the evaluation. So, but then if we think through deep, the cyber security, the digitization has evolved significantly, and so must our defenses, right? So when that is growing, the defense mechanism should also grow. It's not like the old method or a one-stop solution that has worked in the past that will work forever. That's what we are going. That's the reason for all these sessions, I believe. Okay, so the threat landscape is, there are generally the commonly exploited vulnerabilities are software, network, and human. When I say software, it can be through the any softwares that are installed, and even when the systems are not patched properly. So in software organizations, we do regular patching for all our infrastructure. Okay, so there are multiple operating system, each of the servers and the systems we use, but then there will be the Microsoft releases regular patches, and then those are all even Oracle releases regular patches. So that has to be like up to the standards. So software vulnerabilities sometimes occur when the systems are not patched. I'll have some examples also walk through about the software vulnerabilities. And network vulnerabilities often stem from some weak configurations, like unprotected Wi-Fi networks in public places, Earlier, that's actually a threat. When we from an organization, if we go and connect in a public Wi-Fi, there are high chances. Even now, there are many such cases. Like if you expose your device data to an outside network, that is possible, like the hacking of data theft and then malicious intrusions, that and all is possible. That's called as network vulnerabilities. And human factor vulnerabilities is like, so here I'll say like majority we need awareness, human factors, because clicking on phishing links, so phishing and all, I believe that could have been covered. Else I'll cover it in the next slides. So which is like a legitimate link for us to proceed, which one we should browse. So that and all, without awareness, if we actually click on social link, that is the point for attackers. Okay, that's the commonly exploited vulnerabilities. And ransomware has grown as a threat almost 60% in the recent years, and predominantly in healthcare that has been exposed as per my reading. And there is one more threat, like advanced persistent threat. In advanced persistent threat, the challenge is like once the system is hacked or once the network is hacked, it will not be known even for few days. After that only it will be visible. Okay, and then next is the supply chain attacks. It is like the series of systems that will be impacted. And notable cyber attack incidents are these are some examples. Just give me a moment. Let me stop sharing. I see the slides are not coming up right. Let me reshare it. Please allow me a minute. Any questions so far? Let me go on mute for a minute. Sorry, let me share my screen again. Okay. Okay, to answer your question about what is the impact, what will happen of these impacts, this cyber attacks will happen is, you're right on that slide, ma'am. Financial loss due to data breaches. There had been cases where there has happened financial loss organizations, in individuals due to the data breaches. And then the cost of recovery and remediation. Sometimes, at least organization wise, they have like mechanisms to recover, but individuals I have seen, I myself have seen some of, and they are all like, they all know about the cybersecurity stuffs, but they have also even prone to actually get into this. One of my peer manager, he has lost nearly 4.5 lakhs or more than that, I believe, of his money because of the cyber attack. It's not, it is like that the emotional thing that people decide when they have to actually take care of some data. If it is gets lost, and if we are getting some phishing calls at that time, people could not decide much, and then the cost, and then it was not recovered. Okay. An impact on stock prices and market confidence as well. So this is what I was mentioning in the AI ML class. So the AI and MLs are all fine, but then if that is combined with the cybersecurity stuff, if it is not combined properly with the cybersecurity stuff, then there are impacts like the stock prices, the market confidence, and main thing for an organization is about the trust, the trust that will get lost if there are breaches that will happen. So imagine, like, so we are all using internet banking, we are all using Amazon, Flipkart, lot of these stuffs, right? What if there happened like a cyber attack in one of such forum or one of such website or an application, and our data gets lost? Will we again do that again? Will we do a purchase again? No. Even now, even if there are, these are all reputed sites, Flipkart, Amazon, but then there are many shopping sites where we still have this doubt whether we'll get the product, and then we get into this cash on delivery mode as well, right? Because of this problem of data breaches that may happen, because there you every time when you enter your card information, whether the payment gateway is correct, all those information that is very important, right? So the economic impact is one. Organizational impact is destruction of business operations, loss of sensitive and proprietary information. So in every organization, we have to actually categorize it as whether the information is confidential, proprietary, sensitive. So that information categorization is actually a separate team who actually do that. So the loss of sensitive or proprietary information is an impact to the organization, and damage to reputation and customer trust. And societal impact is compromise of personal information, disruption of public services, and erosion of trust in digital infrastructure. So the Google Pay transactions, which everyone started to use now, if there is an attack to that, that will be like, people even now almost like everyone has to move to this digitization, but if there is a breach, then that will be like an erosion of trust in the digital infrastructure, which has evolved like anything, right? It is not like 1 or 2 months they took it. It took years for us to get into this digitization, but that all will be compromised. Okay, now towards the types of cyber attacks. Okay, first one is about the malware. So malware refers to malicious software designed to harm or exploit any programmable device. It's a software, okay? So it can, so when a malware gets into our system, it can replicate, and then it can even take the data out. So those are actually the problems that happens in a malware. Examples are viruses, trojans. So the ransomware encrypts data and demands payment for release. So this is one such malware attack is this WannaCry malware attack. So yeah, that we will discuss in our case study. Okay. So the prevention and mitigation strategies is installation and regular updating of antivirus software, usage of firewalls to block unauthorized access, regular backup. So firewalls is like, so we have like an security mechanisms to block unauthorized access. Even when our applications are actually exposed to outside vendors or outside business partners, we have like a firewall mechanisms. Only then they can come and access our network. So we have like a firewall team, network team, who will enable that there will be like ACLs. In Oracle, you see the ACLs, right? Access control list. So that rules will be defined. Only then the person that IP can actually communicate with this IP. And regular backups to restore data in case of an attack. Earlier, when I started my career, there were not this much of this backup and recovery mechanisms. But now in the software field, every organization strongly believes in this business continuity planning, which is called BCP. And then we often perform this DR test, which is disaster recovery test. The disaster recovery test is in the sense, so the data the data will be present in 1 or 2 data centers, and what if one data center goes down? How will you actually function your application in one? So that's about the business continuity. But if there is like a data loss, the data loss could be for anything. There may be like a cyber attack like this, or there may be like a loss of data, there may be technical failures at that time and all. How a backup works, what is the switchover mechanism. So those are like regular practices that has evolved in the recent days. Okay, now about the phishing. Phishing is something you will hear often in the cybersecurity class or cyber threat thing. Okay, so what is phishing is, it involves tricking people to share sensitive information or down. It will sound legitimate when that request comes in any of these ways. Okay, so the type of phishing attacks, it can be through any of these ways, but then it will sound very legitimate. So this we call it as social engineering. Social engineering is actually the tactic of manipulating or influencing a victim in order to gain control over a computer system or even mobile phones to steal our personal, financial, whatever be the information. Okay, so the type of phishing attacks are email and spam. We get like a lot of email, and currently in organizations we have actually with this AML stuffs and all, they can actually categorize whether this is probably, it could be like a phishing attack. They will filter those emails, but then there is an option like seeing the email. If we think like it is a phishing email, we can report that as a phish. That's like an option. We will get it in the Outlook itself. So email and spam, via email we can get the phishing attack. And spear phishing is actually a targeted attack on one or a particular individual. So spear phishing generally happens like so who will have like a privileged access in that organization. So like a higher level of control, right? So like an administrator. So of that kind, the spear phishing will happen. And search engine phishing is an interesting thing, because search engine phishing, it is where hackers work to become, I mean, basically their link to come in the top of a search on a search engine. So as you all may know, in the Google, there is an algorithm that I mean, there are multiple companies as well who work to have the links that needs to come in the top during the search engine search. Okay, so when the hackers work to become their thing as a top hit on a search using a search engine, when you click on their link, it will directly take you to the hacker's website. Even this holiday, right? If you actually check, when people are checking on that school holiday, there is a highly chance like there is an phishing link. It will sound very normal, but then clicking that, it will start giving ads and all, because those are all some common stuffs which people generally search. Okay. And DNS phishing, DNS based is actually in another name we call it as spoofing. Okay, DNS spoofing. So it again redirects users to malicious websites with the DNS records. So the DNS records has to be proper. So there as well, there earlier used to be standards like only .com, .org sites are popular, allowed. But then now there are changes. Even in SBI, if you see, it is like .SBI now. Okay, and MITM phishing. Okay, man in the middle phishing attack. So it is like a hacker eavesdropping, or there is like a man sitting and watching what exactly you are doing and then stealing some sensitive information. It generally can happen through Wi-Fi. Okay, when you are in a public Wi-Fi network, this is possible. And then session hacking. Every session will have a session ID, session token. If you are using some websites or even our applications, that's how we have. But then there are possible like the cyber hackers or criminals, they can successfully hijack a session, and then they'll perform nearly all the actions that a legitimate user will perform in that session. Like even transferring funds from users' bank account, purchasing online, accessing PIA data. PIA is personally identifiable information. Okay, so those are all possible in a session hacking. And this is one another reason, if you see in the recent days, there are session timeout that has been included in many of our day-to-day applications. Like if you see ICICI, you have this timeout option. So the reason being because of the session hacking. Okay, and keylogger is another interesting stuff, because based on the operations you perform on the keyboard, it's like a program or a physical device. It records the keys a user presses. Okay, so that information can then be sent to a hacker via some CC server. That CC server, we call it as command and control server. And using the keystrokes, the hackers can find our usernames, passwords, and gain access to secure system. Okay, and then Trojan host. Trojan host is actually the related to the virus stuffs. Trojan virus we've seen, right? It's actually a type of malware. And then instant messaging through IMs. So this instant messaging, phone phishing and all, they'll sound as legitimate and asking us to click. Okay. So these are the type of phishing attacks which we experience in our day-to-day life. And denial of service and distributed denial of service is like the attacks are intended to make a machine or a network resource unavailable. So it is like a particular people who will be connected to a Wi-Fi, and then how it generally happens is it will be like an excessive request that flows in, but then the network traffic there will sound so legitimate. Okay, one example, even the AWS, which is the Amazon Web Services, they had this DDoS attack in 2020. It was like one portion. So in AWS, we have this US East, US West of different data center kind of stuff. So there is like one portion that was unavailable because of this DDoS attack. Okay, so the prevention and mitigation strategies is the implementation of rate limiting to control traffic flow. Have like a standards that can be set. An incident response. Some things we have to be prepared. So certain things you can be proactive, but certain things you have to be reactive. Okay, proactive is having all these viruses, network standards, cybersecurity standards. But then from the reactive approach, creating an incident response plan quickly to react to attacks, and then regularly network monitoring. So this is what we have seen in our AML class, right? Detecting anomalies. Oops. Detecting anomalies, regular network monitoring to identify and respond to abnormal traffic patterns. If there is like an unusual traffic that gets flows in that network, then that we actually, now it can be detected with all these AML. So those are prevention and mitigation strategies. Okay, and advanced persistent threats. So these are long-term attacks. So here the aim is to extract valuable data without being detected. You will not even know like the system has gone into an attack. So that is what is APT. Here they generally use pair phishing to gain initial access. Establishing backdoors for persistent access, move laterally within the network. It is like some specific data the hacker may be looking for, and then that it will be like until that is found, we will not know that. So there are like APT specific mitigation strategies now available. See, now wherever there are risks, there is like a mitigation strategy, and regular patching and updating of software to close vulnerabilities, and strict access controls and monitoring user behaviors, and regular security audits. So believe it or not, now in the software industries, the security audits, every application that goes through is enormous. So we even have like security scores associated with each of our applications, and it has to fulfill a set of standards. Only then the application can be passed, and it is not like just the beginning of the application launch. It is like a continuous process we used to do it. Every quarterly, the cyber audits used to come, and then we have to fulfill. It is like a repeated thing. This access control list, it's like an ongoing. Any questions so far? Let me stop for a while. And is my voice okay, or do you all hear this firecracker sound? Hear me good? Yeah, voice is audible. Thank you, ma'am. Do you hear the background noise, ma'am? Oh.
No, ma'am. Anyone?
Ma'am, is the background noise so disturbing? Should I move to a different location? I think I'll consider this is fine. Any questions? Let me see the chat.
PPT is not visible to me.
Yeah, ma'am, I actually stopped the sharing. I came to check the questions, ma'am. Oh, that's true, but I hear you clearly. Thank you, ma'am. Noise in the background. Okay. How can we protect data from external cyber threats? I'll cover it, ma'am. I agree, ma'am. Yeah, it's okay. Thank you. Okay. Now let's go through the case studies or the real world problems that has happened in our. I think some maybe have heard of this. There are three attacks I'm going to cover, and how that attacks went, and what was the mitigation strategies. Okay. Let me share my screen again. Share screen. Okay, hope you can see my screen now. So the three cyber attacks we are going to discuss is about WannaCry ransomware attack, SolarWinds attack, and MGM Resort cyber attack. So this MGM Resort cyber attack is a recent one that has happened in 2023. Okay, WannaCry, I think I don't remember the. Okay, what is WannaCry? WannaCry is actually a type of ransomware, and it encrypts the files on the infected computer. And so the files that when the WannaCry incident happens, the files were impacted. Okay, but then the demand from the hackers was to do the payment in cryptocurrency, usually Bitcoin. Cryptocurrency is again a separate topic. It is like a digital. The money physically do not exist. It is all digital. That's like a separate word to unlock them. But then it rapidly spreads across the globe, affecting hundreds and thousands of systems. How it was exploited is through the server message block protocol. So SMB protocol, anyone is aware what is SMB protocol? So SMB protocol is actually the protocol that is needed for the client server architecture. So a request will be sent from a client to the server, and for the server to respond, we have this SMB. So that is where this vulnerability got hit. Okay. So once that machine was infected, it scanned for other vulnerable machines on the network. So it spreads like a worm. So all the network that all the machines that were connected to the network got infected. And after, so it will be like the virus will get inside and then it will encrypt the files, and it display like a note saying like these many payments are needed, and initial demands were even like $300 to 600 worth of Bitcoin. Okay, you could imagine. And the mitigation effort, how this was overcome is like there was like a kill switch in the WannaCry code that basically it is like to register a specific domain name will stop that from spreading further. And Microsoft immediately released an emergency patch, and global response was like governments and cybersecurity organizations, they started immediately sending awareness campaigns and remediation efforts. So here we have this NASSCOM, which is like the central thing, right? So they actually provide some recommendations as well. As a standard to all the companies, they used to provide, and government also actually conduct a lot of awareness campaigns. So this is one example. And this SolarWinds hack. So SolarWinds Orient platform. So in IT industry, we have this performance monitoring and management tools. So we have like a lot of servers, thousands of servers, databases that run, right? So for monitoring the CPU, RAM, and then the number of queries that, so for all those, we have like a lot of performance monitoring and management. So this attack has happened in one such thing, and around 18,000 organizations, they so here the challenge was like it came like very legitimate, like this is like a software patch that a software company is providing. That's how it has come in. And then that was downloaded by all the users who were using that performance monitoring tool, and it was impacted. First thing is how the attack worked, compromise of their development environment. So if in the patch, that's like a patch that is going to be released to all the customers. In the patch, if there is like an erroneous code or a code that will impact your computer is getting in, it has the compromise in their development environment. Basically in their IDE itself, the malicious code they were able to include it. And how it was distributed? It was distributed via software updates. And then once it was installed, this is actually a component inside that, it allows the attackers to communicate with the infected systems. So I have that software, okay? Imagine like I have that software. I have actually put that updated version that they have released. So now my system can be controlled by actually the attackers. That's how it works. That is what is establishing persistence. How it was compromised, how it was distributed, how it was they were able to communicate. And selective targeting. So they were very carefully selecting high value targets for deeper infiltrations. And generally, I think there was a question like, what do they do with this? The data, as I said in the last class as well, it is now the need of the hour. Everywhere we need this data, the meaningful information about the personal stuff. It is not just the bank accounts, okay? Sometimes we think like once our bank accounts are safe, it is not just the bank accounts, or it is not just the financial related stuff. Even the personal information, there are chances. See, imagine your health record, whatever you have stored in your computer or whatever you have in your digital records, if that is taken by someone, I'm saying it as an example. I'm not trying to make you all panic. Okay, I'm just saying this is an example. So our health records are there in all the hospitals, right? All the hospitals now actually store their information in computer. There are chances that our records can actually be taken. And in one of the recent film we have seen, right? I don't remember the film name. The insurance stuffs, how much of the insurance value for that particular person, that determines whom they need to impact, whom they need to take some wrong action on. Okay. And then if that for that particular person, the insurance amount is something like huge and there are no nominees, and they can actually prompt to get attacks. And from a health industry perspective, the health records can be manipulated. If you are going for some health checks or and then now I mean, I don't want to get into the details of this. So there are chances like the health records can be actually changed, which again can be like the person A or B can have to go through a lot of stuff. So the data in every aspect is important. Okay. With the data, there are many options to make money nowadays. Okay, and stealth and evasion. So the attackers then used advanced techniques to avoid detection, because this is again like they need like an persistent information. So it sounds like a legitimate network activity only. Okay. And some of their catches, before even the alert captures, they can even delete it because they have access to the computer, right? So they can do it anytime. Now we can delete the CCTV footages, right? So if our system is controlled by an X person, they can do anything they want. So what are the immediate mitigation steps? Well, the platform, their team. So how generally we all will detect these outages or this patching is like. So if at all some attacks of this happen in an industry, we will see there are alert logs we can refer. Okay, in alert logs in the activity tracker, we can see what was last patched or what was the last update that system has got. That's how the IT infrastructure team they used to verify, and then that will be like sometimes we can roll it back, and then if sometimes they may not be able to roll it back. So at that time, the original software team they have to find it and then they have to give us the updated release. So updated customers to update secure versions and provided guidance on mitigation. And what is this is from the vendor perspective, basically the software owner perspective. So customer is like disconnected infected systems and networks. So my system is impacted, then I'll not connect to Wi-Fi so that the rest of the systems will not get impacted. Okay, and then there are the teams they helped to remove that sunburst thing and the related malware. And government action, the US government issued a government emergency directive. So federal agencies is again government agencies to disconnect from solar wind products. So the long-term mitigation strategies here is like improve software supply chain security. So adopt basically this best is secure software development practices, because as I said here, the attack has happened right from the development phase. It is not even like when the product is released to the market, it is from the right from the development practice itself. Okay, and includes strict code reviews and monitoring. So use of software bill of materials to track dependencies and vulnerability. So software bill of materials in the sense where all the software has been gone through, like, so we'll have like a procurement team who approves our software request. So that and all has to be properly tracked is one another mitigation strategy. And zero trust architecture, always nowadays it is like zero trust models. When it is zero trust model, even though if you have tested it once, test it again. Like, so if it is like a developer who is doing like, okay, and boss, I did only an if else case statement change, then as well it has to be like tested again, assuming breach and verifying every request. Okay, enhanced detection mechanisms that are associated with this APT. We have seen it like that. This is what is the APT, one such APT activity. And collaboration and information sharing. Governments and industries improve intelligence sharing to detect and mitigate similar threats. An executive order is also issued in terms of multi-factor authentication, encryption, endpoint detection, all those. I'll cover about MFA and all in the next slides. Okay, so the next is another interesting thing on the MGM cyber attack. So MGM Resorts, we all know, right? MGM Disney World, MGM Resorts and MGM Hotels all were. So they have undergone a cyber attack in September 2023. This I have read it recently and I thought we can use it for the session and I included. So initially, how this attack worked, it like, it is like phishing in the sense only particular people can actually access the MGM's PCs or the softwares, right? So they tricked the IT help desk personnel into granting access to internal systems, considering like that their IDs are legitimate. Of that kind, the hackers got the access. Okay. So this was partly facilitated by publicly available information about the victims on platforms like LinkedIn. So in this in companies, we used to say, like, even in the LinkedIn, whatever we can actually share about the company, there must be some restrictions. So we sometimes get guidelines on what to post, how to post, and not to actually post. There's a possible of poaching. Like, so if we tag a person and say, like, possibly this is see, for example, now I'm saying, like, I have conducted an event and I'm saying, like, thanks to my IT infrastructure engineer A and B, who have helped me to get access to all those. So now I'm actually exposing that to the public, saying, like, okay, these are the two engineers in my team who have actually access to all my IT infrastructure, right? That I'm not supposed to do. So that is where publicly available information about the victims. Okay. And compromise of identity management is, so here they exploited by configuring a malicious identity provider. So like a valid thing, they started, like, okay, they designed their proof like they are like a valid MGM admin personnel. And then using this RAS platform, this ransomware thing, so they encrypted several VMware servers, and that impacted their hotel bookings, slot machines, payment systems. Of course, what loss that will happen? Financial losses. And the incident response is like, so they terminated all the malicious processes. But then here I have read it as they refused to pay their ransom. So, but then they focused instead on recovery by actually collaborating with another cyber partner. That's what I read. And systems were gradually restored with most critical operations back to normal within a week. So one another challenge in the cyber attacks for the organization is like the time to recover. Okay, so we call it as MTTR, mean time to recover. So for every applications, we'll have this SLA, service level adherence, that will be committed. So before that, it has to be like up and running, because there will be like downstream systems that will be attached to each of the systems, and there may be like a huge loss. Okay, to put it in very simple terms, if our banking system is impacted, if you cannot do a digital transaction, how many of the other fields that will get impacted? You cannot do any transactions with Amazon, Flipkart, because all those will be impacted, right? So it is not only that business is impacted, it has like a chain of businesses that will get impacted. Okay, what are all the response strategies? Okay, response strategies is like immediate reactions, long-term solutions, and then the lessons learned. Immediate reactions is initial containment efforts. Initial containment is first to minimize the risk. That is what we'll say. Minimize the risk and then reduce like the losses that can happen. And communication immediately with the stakeholders. So our cybersecurity team generally used to take care of it. And then ERT team, the emergency response team, activations and first time. Long-term solutions after once it is find and all, strengthening the cybersecurity infrastructure, implementing new protocols, and enhancing employee training and awareness. So the training and awareness as well is now a continuous process. So we get like a lot of pamphlets. So like what do we say? It is like, so the cybersecurity team come and do some awareness. They send emails in a way like some nice pictures and all, and then they used to communicate like, you're not supposed to do this. This is not legitimate, of those kinds. But then only thing they cannot predict. It can happen via any means, right? And they have to be prepared. So that's the proactive thing, and the reactive thing is about what if it happens, what is that they need to do. And importance of timely software updates and patches is needed, and multi-layer security approaches and continuous monitoring. So this is what I'll say, like, very important. Multi-layer security approaches. Now, if I actually connect to a public Wi-Fi with my Comcast system, so there as well we have like multiple layers. There as well, I cannot actually access certain things. I said, right, many companies started to ban ChatGPT as well, because that's again a company data that is going outside. Okay, so the next is the solution and defense mechanisms. So what needs to be done? So we have seen like what is cyber threat, what all the impact it will cause, why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? What will happen if a data gets breached? What will happen? What are all the financial losses that can incur, and what are the prevention mechanisms for each of this? But then now I'm going to talk about the solutions and defense mechanisms in general for majority of our problems. Device trust. So this is again the zero trust policy, enhancing endpoint security. So we have to ensure like only secure managed devices with proper configuration can access the corporate network and data. So it cannot be like a corporate data can be accessed by any systems outside. So we have this VPNs now, virtual private network. So only when we connect to a virtual private network, we can get into a corporate network. So the VPNs are actually like multiple one other this, but then if you have to get into the VPN, again there it will be like two levels of authentication. That's what we call it as multi-layer. So one is like this first multi-factor authentications where you will, so first is like the passwords that has to be validated. So even if the passwords are validated, the next level of authentication will be like a Microsoft Authenticator. It will generate a token, and that token has to be included, and this happens every time. Okay, and I have like two mobiles. One is my personal mobile, one is my office mobile. In the office mobile, now the device trust is in the way like I'll have the Teams, Slack, Outlook and all, but there as well I have to in a period of time, at least once in 2 weeks, I have to repeat that process of multi-factor authentication. It's not like once I actually put that, it will stay forever. It's like a continuous process. So that's what is device trust. And conditional access policies. So control restrictions based on accesses and the role-based access. So here, based on the user location, device state and behavior, we have to provide security. There are certain users who will get access to certain things. And then this access policy will also be reviewed on a frequent basis. And YubiKeys, I'm not sure if you have heard of this. So YubiKeys is a recent defense mechanism. So how it is like, it will be like a device. It will be like our pen drive kind of device, and it's like a physical security key. And there, for that device to work, first you have to give your fingerprint. But after that, there will be like two-factor authentication to provide phishing and unauthorized access. So only when you connect to that, you can actually access the softwares or the applications in your system. Okay, so that's another level of security. And cyber cognizance, of course, promotes awareness and proactive practices to recognize and mitigate cyber security in both professional and personal stuffs. And cybersecurity frameworks, there are a lot of cybersecurity frameworks that every company can adopt. Some examples are NIST cybersecurity framework. So here it is predominantly to detect unauthorized access and anomalies properly. So that is NIST cybersecurity framework, and ISO standards is to conduct risk assessments to identify and address security risks. So once the risks are identified, there will be like a mitigation thing. And CIS controls means CIS refers to critical security controls. Okay, so they are considered as a set of cybersecurity best practices, and it provides specific and actionable ways to avoid some attacks in a multi-framework environment. This just for your awareness. Mostly the organizations adopt these frameworks. And technological solutions. What are all the things we can do? First thing is about the firewall and intrusion detections. Those are definitely essential for monitoring and preventing unauthorized access, right? So it's to monitor the network traffic and filter and block. So if you there are many sites we will restrict, right? That is again based on the firewalls. So detect potential intrusions and alert administrators to take action. So sometimes if we click on that link, then the cybersecurity team will get an email saying like, from this IP, this link is clicked, and that can cause potential scam, and then we'll get an email immediately. And antivirus and anti-malware software, there is a lot, but then only thing is, it is not like once you actually install an antivirus, everything will go on, but then you have to even update it. Antivirus will have security patches that will get updated. So you get this prompt in your systems, right? Update the system now, update the Outlook now. So that and all is important. Sometimes we ignore it, and sometimes we often put the laptops into sleep mode. But all these are important in this as a technological solutions. And encryption ensures data confidentiality, especially in the secure socket layers and transport layer security. So why it is needed is like when it has to be the SSL and TLS are mainly for the web communications. Okay. Organizational measures. So we have seen technological measures, and organization, what we do for the real world problems is employee training and awareness program. It is critical, right? 95% of the breaches generally involve human error. Of course, I mean, when I say human error, so the one thing on the development thing, right? So of course, if that development, the SolarWinds attack, had it been properly tested, and everywhere first the QA is what will come into the picture, right? There is like a stress test they can actually put in, regression test they can put in, but then stress test has to be like continuous for every fix or every iteration or every feature release they have to do. So first thing is about educating employees on recognizing phishing and social engineering, and conduct regular training, culture of security awareness, provide resources and guidelines. So we get a pamphlet that we put it on our systems or like in our desk. So when that happens, what is should be our immediate, at that time we cannot actually search for an email where to report or something, right? So we have that always ready in our systems and all. And so this is about the awareness. And then regular security audits and assessments, it helps them uncover some hidden vulnerabilities. So if we have this persistent threat, right, APT kind of stuffs, it probably we will come to know only when there is a data loss. But if you do like a regular security audit, then there are chances for those APTs to be exposed. Okay, so perform periodic audits to evaluate the effective of security measures. And then sometimes we have this third party auditors also. Okay, and then based on the audit findings, we do continuous improvement. So when there is like an audit that performs in all our applications, we get an audit report like low risk, immediate risk, and then high or critical. So every lead in the organization, we are responsible to actually take immediate actions, because there are potential possibilities like our application can go on a task. Okay. And IRT is after that, when the breach happens, what needs to be done. So it prepares teams to act immediately in case of like a breach. What has to be, this is what I was mentioning, right? The DR plan. So conduct regular drills and simulations to test and refine response plan. Okay, I have like a test list of things that this is what we have to do if a threat happens. But that is not like only when on the production day or when the attack happens, you cannot ensure like every team will do that. It is not like a one person who will, it's not that case at all. There will be like multiple teams who have to coordinate to actually resolve that problem. So that is where the regular drills in the simulations. Okay, consider that like a problem happened, how will you react? Okay. And communication protocols, of course, for external and internal stakeholders, we need to send the proper communication. And this I have added it on purpose because of the daily world problems that we get in the mobile devices. Because I said, right, one of my colleague was impacted. So use mobile security software, and then secure communications channels. Avoid connecting to public Wi-Fi networks as much as possible. Use VPN to encrypt your online activities on unsecured networks, and enable multi-factor authentication. So it is like it adds like a layer of security. So we have this MFA option through multiple vendors. One such known vendor is Microsoft. So when it is like after your password, there will be one more thing. And now even in the WhatsApp, there are multiple applications. We have this another authentication, right? So application level protection also we can actually do. So if there are sensitive applications in your phone, then you can actually go for all these options. And regular updates and apps from trusted sites. So do not download anything unknowingly. Always go with the Play Store kind of stuff. If you want to download any such things, the best thing is actually go through the iPhone App Store or Android App Store and then do it. And then regular updates to your mobile is also important. And restrict app permissions is like limit app permissions to only what is necessary. One potential threat I see in all our mobile devices is like sometimes we tend to click like accept all. Please do not give accept all, because that is the main problem. You give access to your data, only give what is necessary. So sometimes you see like should this app track your activities across all sites, but in the urge of actually getting into the app, we just sometimes click yes, but then no, and then they highlight it like that's what you need to do, but that is not necessary. It is not just for hacking they do, but they generally get the data. So where all your data has to be exposed to something, you have to decide, and then you have to get that awareness. That awareness is very much needed for everyone who are getting into this digital world. And other options are like regular backups, encryption, mobile device management. Those are also some of the other options. And additional defense mechanisms. So JITA, what is JITA is just-in-time access. So for certain systems, so even in your colleges, in your departments, if you have to grant access to external faculties or external members, that's fine. I mean, I know you will get reliable persons only, but then if there is like, if you get like a chance, like whether you need to give the access or not, there are options to give time bound access to critical systems. Okay, only during this period the access will be given, and then if the access has to be renewed, then there is like another tokenization process. So just in time is actually a good defense mechanism. And privileged identity management. So here it is like a framework to actually audit the elevated access to critical systems. So when you actually implement this privileged identity management, it will reduce the insider and the external threats. And TSF, we started using it for all the AWS stuff. So TSF is like you will have dev, QA, prod, right? So every environment will be grouped to a particular tenant. It's like grouping, clustering, think of that kind. So the reason for this multi-tenant, so you will have like a prod tenant, you will have like a non-prod tenant. So the reason here is to ensure data isolation and security at the tenant level. And URL isolations, preventing malicious content from directly from the user's device. So you can even isolate certain URLs as not to be used. And Proofpoint, that's actually a leading cybersecurity platform. So they provide this email security, phishing protection, and data loss protection. That is something we can use. And the next is the future of cybersecurity. This is a little tricky. What is going to happen in as per the articles I read? Okay. IoT, Internet of Things, right? So the future of the cybersecurity is shaped by emerging threats and the innovative solutions we develop to counter them. Okay, so the advancements are good. So when the advancement is giving advanced threats, then we have to develop innovative solutions to bypass that, right? So IoT devices, imagine you have like an IoT device like a thermostat or an AC that is like, they're saying it like it can even watch you and then it can adjust it. But what if that is getting hacked and it is impacting your network? So that is actually working, and then the smart devices, whatever we have. So that is another emerging threat in the upcoming days. And privacy concerns with user data collected by IoT devices. Okay, and artificial intelligence in cyber attacks, automated phishing attacks with natural language processing. So this type of cyber attack targets the vulnerabilities of smart devices and applications. Okay. So one such example I can say, like to generate some personalized messages that mimic like trusted sources. Yeah, and artificial intelligence can actually do that, right? Now with the artificial intelligence, you can mimic a people's voice, person's voice. That is all possible in artificial intelligence. And quantum computing, what is quantum computing is actually a multidisciplinary field. So it possesses, because it it is like maximum speed or maximum computation. Maybe you all know better about quantum computing. Only I've read about it. So the quantum computers can break encryption methods at an alarming speed. So that's our advancements. So this is about the threats, but then the innovations what we can develop to avoid those is again AI and machine learning for security. So here in the AI and machine learning, specifically what needs to be done is about the predictive analysis. Predictive analysis uses machine learning, statistical models, and some big data analytics. I think you all had a session about the big data analytics, right? So there it can actually analyze the data from sources for network traffic, user behaviors, and then it can actually help the organization to understand what are the adverse behaviors, and then how to be alert on the for the issues, and then prepare for the impending threats as well. So this is again a proactive mechanism we can actually do. And blockchain technology, blockchain also, I think you had a session. So meaning here, it will not be like a single control entity. It will be like, it is so much decentralized. So this makes the network more resistant to attacks and failures. So here, blockchain technology, they generally uses cryptographic methods for the encryption and decryption. So they use this cryptographic methods to, so that is like a tamper-proof transaction security, right? So blockchain technology is one innovation, and then zero trust architecture. So assume no entity is trusted by default, and continuous verification of user and devices is needed. Least privilege access limits access to the user on a particular basis. Do it continuously. That is what is zero trust. So we have seen the threats and what are all the innovations that we can actually focus on. And then policy and regulations. There are many global cyber security policies that comes with the standards that can be included. And then GDPR. GDPR means national cyber security strategies also can be included. But from a data protection regulations, some European countries, they have included this global data protection regulation. Okay. So if you are accessing, if you have your application used by an Europe region, there are some GDPRs that you have to abide to. You cannot actually have like so PII data is personally identifiable information, but their countries, whoever have adopted this GDPR, they have like a security stuffs like we cannot take that customer information that falls in the GDPR. So if your application needs a customer name, and I'm saying that as an example, okay, if customer name is a GDPR, if in an European country if that application has to work, that should be an alternative, because as per GDPR they will not expose that data outside. So that is used across different regions. And then enhanced rights for individuals over their personal data. So our data, our responsibility. Okay, so with this we have come to the end of the session. Okay, I also have a recommendation on the books. Probably I'll post it on the channel. I actually put it in the last minute, so I could not include it in the slide. The reference books, I'll include it on the chat for your reference. Okay.
Check your chat box and clarify their doubts.
Sure, ma'am. Access control list. Okay. Change your place, ma'am. Sorry, I'm noticing it just now. Access control list. Can you please elaborate? Yeah, sure. ACLs are like a, I mean, in Oracle, you have this ACLs where you can actually restrict certain access through ACLs, but then in the wider aspect of firewall related stuff, access control list are the ones which will for every network, it is like those, there will be like a list of IPs or rules that will determine which tenant or which group of network can access the application. So that comes with the firewall. That we call it as network access control list. So it highly guides the inbound and the outbound traffic.
Before that, two question is there. Which is more dangerous between the types of attacks and why?
Which is more dangerous between? Let me get into the question. I mean, if you ask me, I'll say like every attack, we should pay the same importance, right? So rather which type of attack it gets, which is the target for them, whether your financial information, whether your application information. So that is what is important. So my recommendation here will be like, pay attention to what is the data you are exposing outside, what network you are connecting to outside, and what links you are connecting, and which networks, which websites you are accessing through. So in all the means, we have to be very careful about. What's the next question, ma'am?
What a engine attack? Elaborate more. Search engine attack.
I cannot hear it. Can you say me the time, ma'am? I'll go through that. Go to the question, which from where I should.
Phishing attack. Mustafa Wari, 8:10 p.m.
8:10 p.m. Phishing. The question is about phishing. Sorry, I'm not seeing it. So if the question is about phishing, so it's a type of cyber attack. It involves tricking people about sharing their sensitive information. It is like a social engineering, wherein they generally tricks like a legitimate request, and then they generally comes through email, and then through some links, through phones, and through your sessions, and even your passwords can be hacked.
The next question, what is mother of all attack?
What is mother of all attack? So there was like a term called mother of all breaches, if that is what you're talking about. So if that is the thing, it is about includes information from many companies and organizations, right? So the social platforms, wherever we are exposing our data. One example I said, like the LinkedIn, that is again a mother of all attack.
Next question.
How to use VPN to encrypt online activities and unsecured networks, ma'am. So virtual private network is something here we get it in organization. But then if you have many of your systems in your lab or something, you can create a virtual private network. And then once you create that, there will be like an authentication associated with it. And when someone, even if a student has to log into that, there will be called like a big IP or some portal with which they can actually select the server, because all your computers will be connected to an virtual private network, and to gain access to that, they have to select the server. Once they select the server, there will be like one more level of authentication, and then once you enter the authentication key only, they will be able to get access to that. But then with the VP and for once the applications are created, we will ensure like only in the VPN they can actually, with the VPN only they can actually get into that applications.
Then how to secure in TO or browser?
How to secure in TO or browser? So TO or browsers are actually used generally for the dark web, right? It hides IP addresses. So TO or browsers, I'll say like this incognito mode, that and all, it has to be like avoided.
Please share best cyber security tools.
Yeah, the cyber security tools that we have seen in the last stuffs. So to me, I say like the security softwares, network patching, and then just-in-time access that you can actually do. And then the softwares for mobiles, it will be like specific. It is not like a one solution that I can give.
What are the best tools for intrusion detection?
Intrusion detection. So intrusion detection, so we have like lot of audits, and then there are some trusted sources as well that can actually run this audit, and it can actually monitor the traffic and then give us suspicious activities. Sometimes once you actually what do you call it as install some antivirus and all, so there it will actually give you the list of stuffs this is getting impacted.
Explain brute force attacks.
Brute force attack. Let me check it quickly. I'm not sure what is brute force attack. Trial and error to guess passwords, login credentials, and encryption keys. So brute force attacks sometimes like they can. So this is another reason nowadays it is not for passwords and all. It has to be like 8 characters, some of this kind, right? Now it has even gone into a way like you have to use some passphrases that they cannot even detect. So we have all these standards for maintaining our passwords, login credentials, encryption keys to compromise the brute force attack. Dictionary attacks. Yes, exactly. So in our company, if I could remember correctly, we have like every 30 days we have to change the password, and I manage this database administration team. So there you can have this pen notification, password expiry notification that you can actually set for all your production systems. And for every production systems, it will automatically send an email to all the what we call it as employees or the users of the database system for them to change. But if they are not changing the password, it will be like that access will be terminated. And there is one more mechanism we are doing, like application level audit check. So the application level audit check will help in the sense. So for recently, one of my application has gone through the audit check, and there person A has access to my application. Okay, so then there is like a reporting manager of a has to check saying like this person can access to that application. But if that person is not certifying, see, me as a leader, I have to certify like, okay, these are all the approved things that my employees can use. But if I'm not doing that in that system or application, they can actually remove or revoke that access. So that's how it is. Thank you once more. Thank you. But then these are all like emerging and evolving, right? So whatever we are speaking now, in the next 6 months, there may be still more advanced things that will come into existence. So always I'll recommend like we have to keep upskilling ourselves in this. And that's why we have this dedicated cybersecurity team, and their job is actually to ensure like what are all the potential threat, how should we be prepared, what are all the reactive mechanisms, proactive mechanisms.
Okay. Conclude the session, Meena.
Yeah, sure, ma'am. I'll give you the list of books as well. Ma'am, if I'm not able to post it now, I'll probably send it to you. You can send the list of books.
You share it. Do you have the link?
I have it in my another PC. I'll try to. So this is another reason, right? I mean, I cannot use my system.
Okay, you share me. I'll share it to the participants.
Let me.
Everyone, open your camera, and we have to take the photo session now.
So thank you very much for all your patience and participation in this program. I really find it as very interesting. Thank you, Amuda ma'am, for inviting me. So I've sent the book recommendations as well. So please go through that. Okay, wonderful
Okay.
participants. Have a great day and great weekend.
I would like to thank today's resource person, Meenakshi Soundari. She is spending much more time with us, and her busy schedule. She has joined with us for sharing their innovative and insightful session and knowledge with us in cyber security. And some tools and cyber attacks has been explained very clearly and also clarify all their doubts very clearly. So thank you, Meena. Then I would like to express my gratitude to all the participants who are patient listening. So this program will make a grand success. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Camera and thank you. Kindly fill your feedback form for day 5, session 10 now. Sir, share session 9 also now.